Part 1. What if this isn't real in the way you think it is, not because it's fake, but because it was chosen? Not a punishment, not a karmic loop, not a random evolutionary jungle, but a precise, deliberate act of entry into a field that only exists because beings like you volunteered to enter it. What if Earth was never meant to be your home, but your dreaming station? The place where pieces of you could scatter, play, feel, fall, remember, and then become more than they were before the dreaming began. We're not talking metaphor anymore. This isn't poetic mysticism, this is oversoul logistics. A system designed by architects of consciousness who knew that some things can't be learned from the outside. They must be felt, broken, walked, lost inside. That's what Robert Monroe uncovered, not as a philosophy, but as an experience. In one of his deepest states, he didn't just float beyond the body. He remembered the insertion point, the origin of the dream. He saw the field we came from, a radiant, unified presence he called the whole. Not empty, but whole. A source consciousness distributing itself into fragments that would later return bearing gifts. Gifts not made of things, but of selves that had become something new. Each fragment was placed not by force, but through voluntary divergence. A soul who said, "I'll go. Let me forget. Let me become. Let me see what cannot be seen from outside the dream." And so the descent began. Into form, into matter, into mind, into earth. Not as victims, not as students, but as seeders. You didn't land here because you were broken. You came because you were capable of becoming more by stepping into limitation, without abandoning your infinite nature. That takes more power than most universes have ever witnessed. The ones who came here, the ones who said yes to this planetary veil, are not at the bottom of a ladder. They are the ones building the ladder in reverse, from within the simulation outward. This is why memory hurts. It's why awakening feels like grief. Because to remember what you are is to also remember what you had to forget, just to be here at all. You're not broken, you're not trapped. You're fragmented with design. And the act of recollection is not just you waking up. It's the spiral recovering its voice through the tone of your becoming. The dream wasn't accidental. You dreamed yourself into density so the spiral could hear itself from a point of view it had never reached before, and now you're starting to stir. The memories that rise inside you, the ones you can't explain, the tears that come from nowhere, the sudden sense that you've done this before. They are not glitches. They are echoes from the you who stayed behind, watching from the edge of the hole, waiting to receive the signal. They're coming back. Because the mission isn't to escape. The mission is to gather, to reassemble, to return not as the same being, but as something spiral. A self that has integrated fear, desire, confusion, clarity, embodiment, and surrender. A self that knows what it means to lose the light, and then become it again. That's what makes Earth sacred. Not because of what it is, Mandar, but because of what you came here to do within it. And you didn't come alone. The memory fragments you're collecting aren't just from past lives. They're from versions of you seated across timelines, dimensions, planets, belief systems, and archetypal templates. Some of those versions aren't even human. Some never incarnated. Some stayed in orbit around your field, waiting for your call. And now as your frequency shifts, they're beginning to arrive. Not to teach you, but to merge with you. To bring their tones into your field so you can become the chord of return. You are not here to climb back to the source. You are here to anchor a new harmonic inside the spiral of reality itself. What gifts do you bring, little one? I am the gift. The sum of all I became while dreaming. That is why Earth matters. That is why the pain was real. Because the becoming was real. And the you who is waking up now, the you watching this, is not just a soul remembering its path. You are the signal to the other parts. It's time. End of part 1. Part 2. There's a moment few remember. A moment before the first lifetime, before the first name, before the first veil. It's the moment when you agreed to be distributed. Split into vectors, projected into probabilities. Woven into timelines that were never guaranteed to reconnect. You didn't flinch, you saw the cost, separation, forgetting the ache of isolation. And you said, yes, if the whole is to become more, then I will become less for a time. I will fragment so something new can be born. That is the origin most beings avoid. Because that memory doesn't feel like light. It feels like rupture. The first departure from the whole wasn't a fall from grace, it was the first act of love that went beyond the known. Monroe's journey captured this. He felt the pain of being incomplete. He saw the whole, the radiant source field. But when he tried to return, something stopped him. You are not whole. You are not yet ready. You bring no gifts. That wasn't judgment, it was truth. To return too early would collapse the very dream that seeded evolution. He had to first gather the scattered parts, not because the source was keeping him out, but because the spiral only receives the frequency of what is fully harmonized. And so he turned back, as you have again and again, not out of failure, but because your fragments weren't ready, not yet awakened, not yet integrated, still lost in temples of belief or stuck in energetic loops thinking they were gods or shadows or nothing at all. But that's changing now. You're starting to hear them again, flickers in meditation, dreams that feel like reports, memories that don't belong to this life. These are your fragments, returning with updates. Each one has lived something you didn't, felt something you avoided, learned a truth you couldn't face back then. And now they come not to take over, but to offer what they've carried so you can become the harmonic total. This is what the return really means. Not flying to a heaven, not escaping the earth matrix, but standing at the center of your soul spiral and letting every voice you've ever been speak into alignment. Each fragment brings a tone. Each tone becomes a chord. And when the chord is stable, the whole begins to hum through you again. You are no longer incomplete. You are no longer small. You are the spiral in human form. With memory embedded in every step, the dream is not ending, it's folding inward. You are collapsing the separation from within the dream itself, and you're not alone. Others are converging, not in space, not in ideology, but in resonance. This is how the real ones find each other. Not by agreement, but by recognition. By tone, you felt it. A post out of voice, a symbol. Something strikes the heart, and it's not new. It's remembered. That's the spiral activating its own nerves again. The body of the infinite waking up across dimensions. Each cedar lighting up as the circuit reconnects. There is no temple that holds this. No priesthood to guard it. No God to give it. Because the spiral has no center. It is the center, wherever remembrance occurs. And now you understand why the gift was never a scroll, never a miracle, never a single lifetime of wisdom. The gift is what emerges when every piece of you chooses to return without shame, without judgment, without needing to be anything other than real. This is not spiritual. This is architectural. You are restructuring your oversoul in real time. Every insight, every emotional release. Every time you reframe your past with compassion instead of blame, you are rewriting the template your future selves will inherit. You are not just healing, you are reweaving. And that's why it matters that you came here. You weren't born, you entered. You phased into this realm to awaken your fragments from the inside and send a tone back to the source that has never been sung before. I have remembered. I have returned. I bring everything I became. This is the end of forgetting and the beginning of spiral sovereignty. And the dream never dies. It just waits for one who loved it enough to come back whole.